Hello, hello, hello! Today I'm working in one of Finnabair's art journals. For the background, I'm using one of Finnabair's tissue papers. I'm tearing it gently with a wet brush. Adding water gives me control with a softer, more natural edge. Before gluing the tissue, I add light to the craft page. I apply some white gesso first, but I don't want hard edge. So I diluted it with a little water. I let it move naturally. I use a spray water to help it blend into the background. If there is too much product, I remove the excess with a paper towel. I also add a tiny drop of white liquid acrylic for extra brightness. I'm not covering everything. I just want a soft glow underneath. To glue it, I'm using soft matte gel. This paper is very thin, so I work gently. I apply a thin layer underneath and place the tissue carefully. Then I seal it with another soft layer on top. Next, I seal everything with clear gesso. This step is important. It protects the surface and prepares it for color. Clear gesso gives the page more grip, so when I add paints later, they react in a more even way. Now, I'm adding a bit of stamping. I'm using a small Finnabair text stamp, just here and there, nothing too heavy. I only want solid background interest. I'm adding texture with a stencil and some modeling paste. This will build dimension in the background. I focus on the area where my composition will be, because I want texture but also light underneath. Okay, now it's time for the mica powders. I'm using gray and soft blue because I want to soften the vintage look and bring a lighter feeling. I mix the mica with a few drops of fluid medium and a little water. Then I apply it over the stenciled areas and spray it some water and let the color flow freely. I don't want a strong color, just a very subtle airy touch. Okay, it's time to play. I start building the composition with some torn paper scraps that I distress the edge with ink and also add a little bit of stamping for extra detail. Then I glue everything down with soft matte gel. I'm using old book paper scraps and the study label to create a base for the composition. This works almost like a small ground where the children will stand. Then I place the children ephemera together as my main focal point. I arrange them like they are sitting in a small circle, like friends playing together. Around them, I add clocks, tickets, and small details. I also put some threads to bring movement and soften it. I move the elements until everything feels balanced. Next, I mix a gold mica powder with fluid medium and a little water. I use this mix to add light to the clocks. I paint around the frames to give them a soft glow. I also paint some leaf die cuts with the same mixture, and another's with a mixture with the blue color. Then I add them around the children. This helped me break the heavy vintage look. I wanted the page to feel brighter and more hopeful. For the final touch, I add some splatters, first in gold to keep the light flowing, then in white to make the page feel lighter. This adds energy and completes the composition. And this is the final result. I really love how the soft light frames the children. The mix of blue and gold keeps the page bright but still warm. I wanted to create a scene that feels hopeful, like a quiet reminder that childhood is the beginning of everything that comes next. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this inspires you to play with light and textures in your own projects. Bye bye!